Gemini friends. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac, and it is what we call mutable air. Mutable as in mutate, as in change, air as in light and airy, and what? The air, pollen flies through the air, sound goes through the air, so it's communication. Right? So Geminis like to talk, they like to communicate, they like to email, they like to Instagram, they like to keep busy, they're just going. And in astrology, Gemini has to do, it's ruled by the sign, the planet Mercury, okay, the messenger of the gods. You know, he's got the wings up there on his head. And in the physical body, the central nervous system. So you may know Geminis, they're kind of like, you know, they're moving, they're maybe talking. It can be some often, you know, well, not often, but, you know, sometimes there can be problems with the nervous system. There can be problems with nervousness, okay, you know, and always changing, and that can create what? Scattered thinking. Sometimes or memory, there can be memory issues or memory loss. Okay, I mean, a little later on in life, you know. So these are some of the downsides. The upside is positive thinking. We know that positive thinking has a positive effect on your health overall. And we know that Gemini is mutable and changeable. So like diseases or problems or, you know, colds, influenza, things like this, you know, things can come and go. And they can, you know, with a positive attitude, this can this can assist in the healing process. So besides all that, I mean, Gemini, this is a big one. Gemini rules the hands, the arms, the shoulders, okay, yeah. And so, you know, fingers and crafts and all things like that. Geminis like to do little things, and, you know, sometimes it's with instruments and playing music. Sometimes it's with, you know, crafts and things like that. Keep those fingers going. A lot of times they talk with their hands. I've got the moon in Gemini. I admit it. And I say what I have is a selective memory. I don't say that it's a bad memory. I just say it's selective. I just remember what I like to remember. Anyway, and sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other, because Geminis can be a little better at talking than they are at listening. So speaking of which, this is, you know, they also have to do with the inhale. Because let's look at this. Really important with Gemini is that Gemini rules the tubes of the body, because the tubes connect things. Thoughts connect things. Geminis are networkers, right? And your emails connect people. And talking connects us, communication. So, you know, this is all about, communication and connection, and that's what Gemini is all about. And some of their issues can be underlying, okay, the psychological underpinnings of some of their issues can be communication problems, or when their communication is blocked, okay, or when there's like this inability to, you know, to really connect. This can actually create all sorts of problems and disorders in the body. But let's look at some of these tubes. Not only is it the trachea, okay, but then we move on to, okay, the lungs are ruled by Gemini, okay, the bronchial tubes, the fallopian tubes. So sometimes there can be female problems, female complaints, okay, going on, irregular blood flow, you know, irregular moon cycles and things like that can happen when Gemini gets stressed out, okay. The urethra, and the urethra. So these are the tubes that connect the kidney to the bladder, and then the bladder, you know, out to the, you know, to the exterior of the body. These are tubes. So there's all these tubes in our bodies. Even the capillaries are, you know, and this. So the lungs and the tubes and the bronchia. This brings in a whole nother realm. Because what? You know, we know that the lungs are also associated with grief. And if Gemini is not light and happy and communicative and things like that, and they get down or depressed, or they can have issues, okay, that lead to grief, lead to smoking, okay, lead to emphysema. All right, so there's all these kinds of issues that can come up with the lungs. Bronchitis, obviously, is another one. What else? I mean, this stuff kind of, you can just kind of put these kinds of things together. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis has to do with the tubes, okay, of the body. So we have all this energy happening with Gemini, and what we can say, for Gemini is, and I often say, people with lots of Gemini energy, it's like sing. Like open that Mercury function, that communication function. Oh, the tubes of the inner ear, so they can get earaches. Yeah, and things, the eustachian tubes. I mean, there's just like so many freaking tubes, man. I don't know all the tubes. I'm not a doctor. But I think you get a little idea that medical astrology is a whole field in and of itself. And of course, Gemini is the student. So you Geminis may be very interested in learning more about astrology, learning more about medical astrology, to learn more about yourself and, of course, your capacities and also some of your challenges. So we'd say that, hypertension or the nervous system, just like going bonkers. So like, Gemini can be like a butterfly, okay? I got these feathers all over me. They're like birds that need to fly. And they need to change. And they change their mind. And society and parents and bosses and spouses and everything may not always super appreciate this changeable nature, yeah? Because Gemini learns something new and then they change. So they need some space, they need freedom to change. And if they get locked in or blocked in, or they have to show up at a little cubicle, for their job every day, unless it's connected to cyberspace, they could get challenged, yeah, with these, kinds of jobs, lifestyles, yeah, that do not have enough change or enough variety. They are the jack of all trades, yes, many interests going on. So Gemini, baby, go for it. The world needs you. Stay healthy, don't smoke too much, and enjoy yourself. Namaste.